Okay, I am trying to go live now. And let's see how we're working this thing here. All right, so I hope you guys having a great day. And yeah, let me get adjusted here. And yeah, it's been a moment. It's definitely been a moment here. Let me see, because right now. I'm broadcasting on our three channels here on our three platforms, which is YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Okay, so this beginning part is always the tricky part because I have to make sure that I'm broadcasting correctly and all of that. And so it looks like everything is cool. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Well, first of all, my deepest and sincere apologies. I have not been on here in a minute on this platform. I can't even begin to tell you the things that have been going on these last few weeks, and it's been it's been major juggling and stuff going on. But I think we're back in a lane where things are calmed down now. So I hope you guys have had a wonderful day. And welcome. If you're not familiar with the platform here on this broadcast, we're Samba Tree. And Samba Tree is a website where we address health and wellness needs. And we have all kind of things here. If you go to our website, which is sambatree.com, and I'll bring it up here on the screen here, sambatree.com. And here we go. Let's see if I can bring that up here so you can see it. There it is. And I will attempt to move it. I don't know what I'm doing here. All right, hold on. For some reason, it won't go up any higher. I don't know what that's about. Let's see. Let's see if I can scrunch it up. Okay, well, that's going to have to do for now. So sambatree.com. Yeah, this is for all your health and wellness needs. If you take a look at the site, if you can see it, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, so we have all kinds of great things on here. If you go to our menu here, which is here, and you can see all the great things that we have, everything from powders to we have capsules. If you're looking for example, if right now, a lot of people are focused on really trying to control their sugar, the amount of sugar intake, because the way this Western diet is set up in a way where we are addicted to sugar, and so there are herbs that can help address that. And this is one of them here. It's called, it's our full spectrum Genema sylvestre capsules. It's known as the sugar destroyer. And we have this going on right now. You get 100 capsules for that. And then there's all the details right there on the screen. The last time I was with you guys, I talked about how the platform that we're on for our website, which is Shopify, they dinged us pretty hard. They said, listen, you're going to have to take all claims off of it. We don't care what the World Health Organization says or whatever. We don't want you making any kind of claims whatsoever, even though all this stuff is fully documented. They said, no, you can't say anything. So we had to get on here and had to take a lot of stuff off and all of that. But I would just encourage you, just do your research. Do your research. Look these things up on your own. And you will find that these herbs and things, they address many of the health ailments that we go through and experience. And so just take a look over there. Again, the website is sambatree.com. We also have, as you can see, fruit juices. Oh, my goodness. These things are great. So everything from guava to mango to soursop and coconut water. These things are 100%. When I say 100%, there's no additives. There's no sugar added to it. You know how when you go into the grocery store, a lot of times they'll say it's fruit juice, but they add stuff to it. No, these do not. They don't add anything. And these are great. My personal favorite is the mango, but I would say soursop is right there, and then guava And I like coconut water anyway. It's just, I'm not going to sit up here and try to tell you that, but this coconut water is different. I will say this coconut water here, there's no sugar. Some of the more popular brands of coconut water out there, they do add sugar to it. This does not. And so again, make sure you check that out. And if you want to buy it by bulk, we also have that available. We have a lot of other things as well. If you take the time and look through the website here, if you go through our whole tea sections, we got a whole wide range of teas that address a number of health ailments and issues and stuff that we, as humans, we encounter. And you can, again, take your time and look these things up on your own here, and you will find them here on sambatree.com. Let's go back here. Just going to show you a few more things, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about on this particular broadcast. Like I said, you can buy things for bulk. We believe in 100%, meaning that when it comes to everything you put in your body and on your body, it's got to be 100%. We don't deal with fillers and extra things and all of that. No, this is 100% stuff. So anything from amla oil to the toothpaste that we sell, you better not be using Crest or anything like that. That's ridiculous. Don't use those other toothpaste. You need 100% natural toothpaste that don't have extra sugar, that don't any sugars in it. How about that? And are just great. Okay, they say stop because of an error. Let's see. They're telling me I'm having an error on Instagram, but we'll see. I'm just going to keep rolling here. A lot of this stuff here, 100%. I'll just say that. Let's see what else here. Everything from different things from a cracked heel. If you're dealing with cracked heels, okay, you can admit that some of these heels out here be looking like Snuffleupagus. We get it. It's okay. All right. It's our secret. We won't tell anybody. Okay. I promise you. But yeah, we have a natural cream for that to address that, and a number of other things as well. Different types of oils. We have beard butter for the brothers out there, and number of other things. So just take a look when you get a chance, and go head on over to sambatree.com, and you will find that we have a number of great things over there that is for just for health and wellness. We're 100% committed to that, because that's really the key to a lot of the things that, that are going on right now, even when it comes to making good decisions about you and your family. Our latest blog post, I just posted it today. It's called Wake Up Your Brain. And you want to check this out. This is geared towards our Black men that are out there. And in this post, we're continuing the discussion I've been having on another platform that we have on YouTube, where we're talking about the power of literacy, reading, and what it does to your brain. And we go into that into great detail. But we also recommend a few herbs that are good for brain health. And then we also talk about breathing exercises. I just started back up. I've been on and off with breathing exercises, but I'm like, no, I need to do this, and I need to do it on a regular basis. When you read about the benefits of breathing exercises to your body, to your immune system, to your brain, oh my goodness, you should be doing it all the time. So make sure you check that out. And we give other some assignments and things like that. That's all on our blog. Again, that's on sambatree.com. Make sure you check that out. Okay. All right. So hopefully I'm still on Instagram, because I have zero way of telling right now, but it was telling me that I was knocked off, but we'll see. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing here. But again, I'm glad that you guys are here, and I'm glad that you joined us. So on this particular broadcast here, we're going to delve into an issue. It's a particular topic that some years ago, we were not, us, along with many other platforms, they didn't allow us to talk about this. And we're talking about the jab, right? The jab that many people all over the world were forced to take because of whatever. It's an emergency. If you don't take it, you're going to die and all this other stuff, right? And a lot of people were made to take this thing. Okay, well, fine. And so people did it. But over time, what's happened is is that people who are in the medical field, because that was our standard when we were going to talk about this whole thing about the jab and all that. Our personal standard was we are going to make sure that whatever we say is not just mere opinion from us, but it's going to come from people who have a long standing history in the medical field and have a great reputation in the medical field. And that was our standard. I mean, you can't go any higher than that. Well, when that happened, of course, you had people, different platforms, maybe the platform that you're watching, they didn't like that. They didn't want that. And so there was many times we would do videos on this featuring that information, and they were still taking it down. Well, now we're living in an era right now, thankfully, where the truth is actually coming out. Well, it's been out, but now it's being acknowledged at higher levels of the halls of injustice, I should say. And so I want to just share with you in this short broadcast a blog post that someone posted, and there's going to be video clips in there. We're just going to go through it because I want you to take a look at it and watch the videos, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Again, this is coming from Washington, D.C. So if any of these platforms have any issue with this information, take it up with the president. But for now, this is what's out right now. So let me go ahead and pull this information up for you, and then we're going to jump in and get started. Again, thank you for joining us for this broadcast, and hope you guys are having a wonderful day. All right, so let's go and let me pull this up here, and let me move it around. Hopefully you'll be able to see some things here. Let me kind of play around with this here. Let's see. Give me just a moment here. Let's see. This is something else. Okay. All right. So you'll definitely be able to hear it, and you can, it, for whatever reason, it won't let me center. Okay. So let me, all right. So we'll just do that. Okay. I think will suffice. Okay. Okay. So this is a hearing that they just had. All right. Recently in Washington. So let me go ahead and read it for you. And then each one of these things, it comes with a video. And so there'll be video clips that we'll play as well. OK, the safe and effective narrative is just collapsed on camera. Senator Ron Johnson brought the receipts exposing how the Biden administration deliberately hid vaccine harms from the public. Then James Thorpe, he's an OBGYN, revealed miscarriage data so disturbing it left the room silent. This is a Senate hearing they never wanted you to see. It turned 3 hours of footage into a 5-minute read. All right, so we're going to go through it right now. And here we go. The first clip here. Well, the total clip length is 3 hours and 10 minutes. So we're not going to watch that. So here we go. I'll just go to this one. These are just basic clips here. So let's go over through these clips here. Senator Ron Johnson opened the hearing with a bombshell. The Biden administration knew about the deadly heart risks tied to the COVID shots and deliberately kept it from the public. Johnson released newly subpoenaed records exposing a detailed timeline of what officials knew. All right, so let me go ahead and play the video and let's take a listen, okay?
What I want to do right now is, in a more succinct fashion, go through a abbreviated timeline as it relates to the myocarditis issue. Now, after facing 4 years of the Biden administration's efforts to undermine the public's access to information in my oversight work, I immediately issued a subpoena to HHS when I became chairman of this committee. The subpoena records I am releasing today, which are discussed in the interim report, do not contain FOIA redactions and will finally provide the public a more complete understanding of the Biden administration's awareness of the risks of myocarditis following COVID-19 injection. So now here's a brief timeline. On February 28, 2021, Israeli health officials notified CDC, quote, of large reports of myocarditis, particularly in young people following the administration of the Pfizer vaccine. Again, that's February 28, 2021. 2.5 months after the emergency use authorization. On April 12th, over a month later, a DoD consultant raises concerns to CDC and FDA officials about their ability to monitor and track cardiac-related adverse events. The consultant notes, quote, "If you do not ask, you will not see it. But does that mean it does not exist?" Unquote. Around the same time, in mid-April 2021, CDC officials discussed safety signals for myocarditis, quote, "for myocarditis with mRNA vaccines, based on DoD and Israeli data, but do not take immediate steps to warn the public." By the end of April 2021, just 4 months into the COVID injection, VAERS was already reporting 2,926 deaths worldwide within 30 days of injection, with 46% of those deaths occurring on day 0, 1, or 2 following injection. Now, I have the first chart I ever did on this, which I presented in our event in Milwaukee with the COVID injection injured. That chart, a couple months later, is showing, I think, 30-some%. I can't see it from that far away, but let me get out mine. That chart is showing, at that time, a couple months later, 4,812 deaths, 1,736, or 36% of those deaths occurring within the day of injection or within 1 or 2 days. Now, I was raising that issue. I was going on media. I was showing this chart, and I got censored. Radio talk show hosts, when I talked about this, they were deplatformed. Now, again, I realize VAERS doesn't prove causation. I realize it's grossly underreported, but that's a correlation that I thought was pretty important. Somebody ought to be looking at it. So when I finally had a meeting with Francis Collins, head of NIH, with a group of other senators, I asked him, "Are you watching VAERS?" Now, I gave him those stats. He did admit that 6 deaths were associated with the J&J vaccine, but for the other over a few thousand deaths, he said, "Senator, people die." That was his callous reaction. That was the head of the NIH, completely blowing off the VAERS system that they had touted before they got the emergency use authorization. I'll continue. From May 17th to May 21, 2021, CDC officials discussed whether to issue a formal health warning called a Health Alert Network message on myocarditis, noting that, quote, "providers aren't reporting these cases to VAERS." They knew they weren't. They knew they existed. They knew they weren't reporting them. A couple days later, during a May 24, 2021 vaccine safety meeting, notes show that FDA and CDC officials asked, quote, "is VAERS signaling for myopericarditis now?" Question mark, and are told for the age groups 16 to 17 years and 18 to 24 years, yes. Yes, they saw a safety signal in VAERS, yet. From May 25th to May 27th, CDC officials provide up-to-date information on the status of the Han to Pfizer and Moderna representatives. Not to the public, they're warning the injection manufacturers, indicating CDC's preference to keep those companies more informed about vaccine adverse events than the American people. On May 26th, then FDA Director, Acting Commissioner Janet Woodcock emails then CDC Director Rochelle Walensky noting that, quote, "FDA does not concur with the issuance of the myocarditis Han as written." The same day, CDC and FDA decide to, quote, "nix the Han," and instead publish less formal clinical, quote, "clinical considerations about myocarditis on CDC website." 3 days following the myopericarditis signal, FDA official Peter Marks appears to raise concerns about even posting the less formal clinical considerations on CDC's website. He emails Woodcock and Walensky, quote, "I need to ask for your patience with me. We still have concerns here if myocarditis and pericarditis have not actually signaled." That same day, CDC officials editing the clinical considerations discussed the need to, quote, "walk back," a sentence advising doctors to, quote, "consider restricting patients with myocarditis from rigorous activity like competitive sports for at least 3 months until cleared by healthcare professionals." And I'll be talking to Dr. McCulloch about the danger of eliminating that warning, because 4 days later, CDC posts on its website clinical considerations about myocarditis, which omits any advice to doctors to advise patients with myocarditis to limit rigorous activity. That's what's in this report in far greater detail. So I would ask that that information, together with my majority staff report, 2,473 pages of records HHS has produced pursuant to my January 28, 25 subpoena, and my actual subpoena. I want those entered into the record.
Okay, so I know that's a whole lot there, but, you know, he's setting the stage up again. He mentioned VAERS. I remember when we first started covering this whole COVID thing, that's what was one of the sources that we were looking at. In case you're not familiar with VAERS, VAERS is basically a vaccine injury system that the CDC has used for years to track any side effects, like in real time. Like if someone had taken a vaccine and they experienced some type of side effects, or like we like to say, direct effects, you can go to the CDC's website and you can actually document and talk about it and post it up there. It was somewhat unofficial in that anybody could post on there, meaning that, you know, you go through your doctor, tell your doctor, whatever. It wasn't something that was necessarily verified, but it was used as just some additional information that, okay, if you got 20 people waving a red flag on the side of the road and telling you, hey, danger, 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 you may not have seen the danger that's ahead, but if you got 20 people waving a red flag telling you, hey, danger, 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 you at least want to take a look at it. You wouldn't just, put it to the side and say, hey, this isn't, it's not worth checking out. But that's exactly what was happening during those years. You had many people that were posting these side effects and on the CDC website, on their VAERS system, and time again, people were told to look the other way. Don't pay attention to it. When we would point to it, different platforms, they didn't like it. They would take it, they immediately would remove it and say that you're not supposed to do that. You're not looking at authorized service sources. And I'm like, the CDC is where you guys are getting your information from. That's the same place we're going. And so they didn't like that. And there you go. So anyway, let me move on to this next video here. This one features Dr. Peter McCullough. Again, he's another one of these medical professionals who very highly respected in the medical field. And, he took a look at this thing like any responsible medical professional would do. And he had some serious questions. And when he would raise those questions, he was one of many medical professionals who basically time and time again would get his stuff taken down. So let's take a listen to this 2-minute video here, what he has to say on it.
Now, the topic today is myocarditis or heart damage from the COVID-19 vaccines. I'm a cardiologist. I know the topic well. I've examined thousands of patients with this problem. Thousands. Before the pandemic, I had 2 patients ever with this problem. There's 1,065 papers in the peer-reviewed literature on COVID vaccine myocarditis. So let me summarize them for you. The first one that came on my radar screen that was alarming came from Washington University in St. Louis, August 18th of 2021. The first author is Verma and colleagues. New England Journal of Medicine. 42-year-old man comes into Washington University Hospital with vaccine myocarditis. The infection is ruled out. It's the vaccine. He's in the hospital. This is one of our best hospitals in the United States. He dies 3 days after taking Moderna. They can't save him in the hospital.
Say, Dr. McCullough, move the microphone just a little bit away from you.
Then one was reported from Korea by Choi and colleagues. This is now a younger man. Just a few days after Pfizer. He comes in the hospital. He dies within 8 hours of being in the hospital. I can tell you, I'm a cardiologist. That doesn't even happen with heart attacks. He dies within 8 hours. I examined all of the slides and the images that the Koreans had showed us. It looked like somebody took a blowtorch to that heart. It was so completely fried with inflammation. His heart was destroyed. These cases which were widely known at the time, should have gotten everyone's attention. Everyone should have been laser focused on this. We should never have someone die after taking a vaccine. That's directly caused to the vaccine. Then Gill and colleagues, Connecticut, published in Archives of Pathology, 2 boys, aged 16 and 17, who die a few days after taking Pfizer. These are teenagers. They're found dead at home by their parents. They're absolutely horrified. Now the top.
All right, so there you go. Let's move on to the next one here. Now, this one is Alabama-based physician Dr. Jordan Vaughn, and let's take a listen to his account. All right, so let's go. Again, so for the YouTube gods, overlords that out there, or the Facebook overlords out there, this is testimony from Washington, D.C. So this is beyond just a claim that we're making. This is testimony being given at a Senate hearing in Washington, D.C. recently. So if you can allow Senate hearings on other topics, you can certainly allow Senate hearings when it comes to this particular topic here. And this is a public service that we're doing. So to inform the taxpayer base of the United States on the discussions that are taking place in public forums in the Senate. So if you got an issue with that, that means you got an issue with all other topics that are discussed in Senate hearings. So I'm just got to say all that. Okay. All right. So let's go to this next individual here. Okay.
And what I came away with was understanding that the spike protein, the S1 subunit specifically, is not a benign protein. It triggers inflammation, it disrupts endothelial barriers, it induces fibrin resistant to breakdown, and it promotes a lot of amyloid aggregates, which is what I research. These effects impair oxygen delivery, damage blood vessels, contribute to clotting pathologies that manifest with a lot of the symptoms that we're seeing in the long COVID and vaccine injured, which to this day is a huge amount of people. We're talking upwards of 10 to 15 million people in America that are being affected by the consequences of COVID in the long form or vaccine injury. And the typical symptoms are things like heart racing, brain fog, shortness of breath, and post-exertional malaise. In my clinic, I actually use immunofluorescent microscopy to be able to actually see what's going on in the blood and look for these amyloid aggregates. Some as young as teenagers that are unable to stand. Others are previously active adults suffering small strokes without typical identifiable causes. These are not abstract theories. They are the lived realities of my patients in Alabama and beyond. The mRNA injection, heralded as a solution, introduced a novel mechanism, lipid nanoparticles delivering modified mRNA that instructs the cells to produce a stabilized spike protein. Unlike traditional vaccines, this approach resulted in uncontrolled production of the spike protein for an unknown duration and distributes it widely across organs, including the heart, brain, and vasculature, and ovaries and testes. The actual EMA, their assessment of Comirnaty, which is Pfizer's vaccine, noted biodistribution beyond the injection site, contradicting claims that the vaccine stays in the arm. And a recent groundbreaking study using single-cell precision nanocarrier identification revealed LNP accumulation in the heart tissue of mice with adverse proteomic changes in immune and vascular proteins, raising concerns about the cardiac complications that dovetail with what we were seeing when we were looking at the COVID-19 vaccine myocarditis.
All right. So, I mean, they're putting it down here. Okay. So let's move on. Sorry. Hold on. Let me get it right there. Okay. There you go. All right. So let me move on to this. Regulators claimed the vaccine stayed in the arm. That was a lie. A Yale study. So this is Yale. We're going to the main sources here. Okay. These aren't side piece blogs or anything like that. We're going to Yale. We're going to the people who told us earlier in the beginning of all this, go for it, get it done. Now we're going back to them and we're listening to what they're saying. All right, so here we go. Regulators claimed that vaccine stayed in the arm. That was a lie. A Yale study now shows some people are still producing spike protein more than 700 days after their last injection. We didn't just inject people, we turned them into spike protein factories. Why are you still producing spike proteins 700 days after the injection? Why? Why is that? And most importantly, all the clowns, the cast of clowns that were out here encouraging and telling people to do this, why did they not investigate and ask these questions then? Why not? And for those who had questions, why were we the ones that were penalized for their asking these questions? Now they're asking these same questions. And now I guess it's, what can you do now? The horse done been left the farm. All right, here we go. OBGYN Dr. James Thorpe, this is another doctor, delivered one of the most haunting moments of the hearing. And he says that that the C shots mirrored the effects of chemical abortion drugs. And the government knew what it was doing. Take a listen.
This deception was institutionalized in the now infamous Shimabukuro study published on April 21st, 2021 in the digital version of the New England Journal of Medicine. 21 authors claimed the miscarriage rate was 12.6%, but the raw data revealed an 82% miscarriage rate in women vaccinated during the first trimester. This figure mirrors the effects of chemical abortion drugs such as RU-486. Also, in the same journal edition, on the same day, an op-ed appeared by CDC Director Rochelle Walensky and Journal Editor-in-Chief Eric Rubin. These publications were riddled with conflicts of interest and deliberate misrepresentations intended to coerce pregnant women into taking vaccines. Subsequent studies have also claimed that COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective during pregnancy and have been rebuked by respected researchers. These publications are fundamentally compromised by serious conflicts of interest, ranging from biased funding sources and institutional mandates, and even threats to their medical licenses and board certifications. Between 2020 and 2022, pharmaceutical companies paid $1.06 billion to reviewers at leading medical journals, the New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, Lancet, and BMJ, thus corrupting the peer review process. At least 6 existing studies, 3 from CDC, FDA, and 2 from Pfizer, revealed major breaches in safety signals for COVID-19 vaccines and pregnancy. These findings were ignored. Conversely, countless independent researchers with no conflicts of interest published findings that contradicted the false narratives and the pharmaceutical industry narratives, only to be rewarded by persecution, censorship, and threats to their medical licenses and board certifications. This is not hypothetical. It happened to me. On February 8th, 2025, our team of researchers published a peer-reviewed study in Science, Public Health Policy, and the Law. We identified 37 adverse pregnancy outcomes significantly associated with COVID-19 vaccine, including miscarriage, stillbirth, birth defects, cervical insufficiency, premature rupture of membranes, preterm birth, and death of the newborn. Lin and colleagues in a major journal publication documented that the COVID-19 vaccine traverses the placenta, enters the fetal blood, and bioactively produces spike protein in the placenta and the lining of the uterus. Recently, animal studies revealed the mRNA COVID vaccine causes the destruction of 60% of the ovarian reserve in rats. This catastrophic public health failure was financed with taxpayer dollars and channeled through federal agencies to medical gatekeepers such as the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, ACOG, the American Board of Obstetrics and Gynecology, ABOG, and the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine, SMFM. These organizations have abandoned their ethics and responsibilities to physicians and patients and must be held accountable. I urge the government to immediately halt all funding to these entities and to end every promotional campaign that coerces or recommends experimental mRNA therapies to pregnant women. This must stop now. Thank you.
I mean, do I need to say anything to that? I mean, Wow. There's a little more here, and then we're going to stop here. Let me see how much. Wow, they really went through on this one here. Let me see what's the next one. All right, so then there's more information here. If you, what I'll try to do is if you subscribe to our email list, I'll try to include this link to this post in in the future email. So if you want the link, you can, subscribe to our email. We'll get it to you. If you're on X or Twitter, just go to the page, the Vigilant Fox, and it's on here. All right, so let's listen to this individual here. This is attorney Aaron Seary. I want you to listen to what he has to say on this.
For every product on the market, you can sue the manufacturer for harm, for design defect claims, meaning the claim that the product could have made safer. I mean, literally, look around this room, planes, cars, pharmaceutical drugs, every one. There's only one product in America. You cannot sue the manufacturer for design defect claim to claim that it could have been made safer, and that are vaccines. I heard, injections, vaccines. My definition of vaccine is any product for which the government needs to give it immunity from harms. To me, that's what a vaccine is, because some prevent infection, some don't. That's what a vaccine is, meaning it can't survive without that immunity, apparently. Why did vaccines get this immunity, which was provided in 1986 under the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act? Because leading up to 86, there were only 3 routine childhood vaccines, MMR, OPV, and DTP, and they were causing so much harm and causing so much liability that all the manufacturers were going out of business to stop making them. And Congress, instead of forcing those manufacturers to do what every other product manufacturer needs to do in that situation, which is what? Make a better, safer product. Instead said, you know what? We're just going to give you immunity. We're going to make it so nobody can sue you for those harms. And you can keep selling your product to the American public no matter how many children it kills or injures. And the issue is that immunity was not just given for those 3 products. It was given for any childhood vaccine, routine child vaccine that was developed thereafter. I tell you this not to take issue with childhood vaccines, but to explain to you the regulatory framework in which vaccines have developed over the last 40 years. We have now gone from 3 injections in the first year of life under the CDC schedule in 86 to 29 injections, including in utero, if a child follows the CDC schedule today. Every one of those vaccines, save one, was developed by a pharmaceutical company knowing they would not be responsible for the injuries that are caused by those products. So when you have drug trials where pharmaceutical companies, they care about losing money, they don't want to lose money on their drugs, they often do multi-year placebo-controlled trials before they get on the market because they don't want to end up upside down. They're there to make money. But with vaccine products, because they don't have that financial incentive, they have the disincentive. Almost every childhood vaccine in this country is licensed based on clinical trials with no placebo control, save for COVID-19 vaccine, often days or weeks, up to maybe 6 months of safety review after injection, and are often extremely underpowered. Those trials could never have really confirmed the safety of this product, and my submission to this committee laid out every single vaccine and put them in detail.
Wow, there's really something here. Let me play this one here as well. This is going back to Dr. Peter McCullough. Let's listen to him.
When someone signs consent for a vaccine, Senator Blumenthal, does the consent form say it's going to save their lives? Of course it doesn't. It's not on the FAQ. There's never been a prospective, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial ever showing that COVID-19 vaccines reduce mortality or hospitalization. There's not even a valid non-randomized study. Thankfully, COVID mortality went down for 3 reasons. Because we all got the infection, vaccinated and unvaccinated, so we developed population natural immunity. We developed early treatment. Credit to Operation Warp Speed. We used all the Operation Warp Speed tools, additional drugs. We treated patients with multi-drug protocols at home so they don't go to the ER. So Governor Green never saw the patients we treated because they were successfully treated at home. And the third reason is that the virus mutated to a much milder form. Those things happen concurrently with rollout of the vaccine. The vaccine cannot be falsely credited with saving millions of lives. We can't allow false drug advertising to be put up on a poster behind one of our public servants. We cannot accept that.
So let me quick.
All right. And then, you know what? I want to play this one too. This is Senator Ron Johnson, and he's showing this chart here. So let's play this here.
This shows the number of daily cases of COVID. And you see it's peaking in January. You know, right as we're rolling out the vaccine, but we really haven't injected it with anybody. If by the time we had any kind of significant uptake of the vaccines, we were way down in terms of the number of daily cases. I mean, this virus was burning itself out. Okay, now we had different variants. Again, I've read a lot of information about vaccination into the midst of a pandemic driving variants. Is that what happened? I don't know. But you would think if a vaccine were that effective, the tail would just continue and the pandemic would be over. But that's not what happened. We had a whole new surge, and this is Delta, and doctors I've talked to, very deadly, probably a more deadly. Do you agree with that, Dr. McCullough? Delta was more deadly. I know you guys are kind of freaking out that your early treatment wasn't working as well.
It was definitely more difficult to treat. But fortunately, by that time, we had treatments.
But anyway, I just wanted to put this thing up here again. Again, to a layman, if the vaccine really worked, was that efficacious, prevent all that disease? By the way, they all admitted that it didn't prevent transmission. They lied to us about that for 4 months, maybe a year. Then they finally had to admit it didn't prevent transmission. But again, this chart right here just shows you that if the vaccine really would have worked, you wouldn't have had this. You wouldn't have had this. But I'll turn it over to Senator Blumenthal.
Very good. Very good. I'll just leave it at that. There's a few more clips on there, but, we'll just leave it at that there. But quite interesting stuff there. So again, I'm gonna really limit what I want to say on this, other than just let the facts speak for itself. This is more, we're past I told you so and all of that. Nobody's doing that right now. What we are dealing with, however, is the fallout of many people who bought into this. Now, what do? Now, how do we address this? You understand? And so that is one of the missions of what we do here at Samba Tree, is that we do address it. In fact, we were addressing it from day one and providing some alternative options for people who may encounter these kind of things. And so regardless if you go with us or any other, you go to your local nature store or whatever, our most important thing that we say here is do your own research. Do your own research. Just because someone is telling you, I don't care how many degrees they have on the back end, at the end of the day, they are still an individual. And when it comes to medical professionals, of course, we want to listen to them and we want to take their word and take it in consideration. You want to do that. So we're not advocating do not. However, they do not have the final word when it comes to your health. You are your primary physician at the end of the day. And this is why we strongly advocate people to do their own research, ask questions. If you go to our website on sambatree.com, we have links to is AI technologies out here now where you can ask these types of questions and you can get answers on if I'm dealing with this, if I'm dealing with that or whatever. What are some natural options I can go with to address this? Now, again, we're not saying that these platforms are the silver bullet and are going to bring instant healing or anything like that. Absolutely not. But when you're making life decisions like you're doing when it comes to these topics, you want to make sure you are getting as much info as possible so that you can make a well-informed decision. And what we witnessed a few years ago, they admit these were not well-informed decisions. They were rushing people and telling people out of fear, you better take it. And if you don't take it, then you're missing out and all this other stuff. And people out of fear went with it. But now we're seeing on a federal level that it's all the information is coming out now that what was being said then by the outcast, was absolutely right. There's a lot of truth to what was being said. And so again, our encouragement to you at the end of the day, as I'm bringing this to a close, do your own research, ask questions, right? And we're in an era right now where there's tools out here. Many of them are free and you can do just that. Our tool, the name of it is called Baba Herb. And if you go to sambatree.com, you'll see a link to it. Just follow it and just click in it. And there you go. And you will get much of the information that you're actually looking for, along with some practical steps on how to apply it on a day-to-day basis and all that stuff. Okay. So anyway, so there you go. That's it. I just wanted to present that to you. There's like a couple more videos on that stream, but I just figured I'll just show you just enough so you can see that it's being talked about now. It's all in the open right now. And so I wanted to make sure we didn't overlook this one. So, and again, thank you so much for tuning in to this broadcast. Hey, you guys take care, and I'll see you over there at sambatree.com. Take care now.